Yo, what's up, everyone? Chris, how's it going, man?
Yo, Adam, what a day. What an example of the powers of something you can do with Emblem.
Yeah, I saw that, man.
You saw the arcade post. What's your direct feedback? How are you feeling? What's going on?
Yeah, so those of you who don't know, basically a NodeMonk got taken to Ethereum and put up for a 25 ETH loan and got actually the loan on it on Ethereum. So through these platforms on Ethereum already kind of really well built out. And I mean, it's one of our theories is that we're just going to have a lot of this, right? Where collectors or people who are, looking to get access to liquidity and stuff are just going to jump chains. And that's why, we believe that Emblem Vault is the ideal solution for that. And obviously we saw it with Rare Pepes. That's where we kind of, cut our teeth was Rare Pepes and people on Counterparty finding liquidity on Ethereum, right, through OpenSea and selling Rare Pepes on OpenSea. And this is kind of the natural evolution. Like in 2021, there was not access to loan platforms for NFTs, right? It literally did not exist. And so now it exists. And I think we're at like early stages, right? Obviously, it's only high value kind of NFTs that are getting access to this liquidity. But I think you can easily see over time where it's just everything, floors and meme coins and whatever have you, this ability to access liquidity on different chains is going to be something. And obviously it's happening on Ethereum right now. But I could envision it happening on other chains. I mean, who knows the way this plays out? It could all happen on Bitcoin. Let's be perfectly clear. The infrastructure just hasn't been built out yet. And I think I'll go and pin it up top, but correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. He was like, he could have gotten the loan on Bitcoin, but it was substantially less. Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's definitely right. So with cross-chain, just one of the cool things, what's so important about it, why it's such a big step to where we're going, is because it just gives you additional options and access to more liquidity across different chains and for different rates, and including different fees, right? So, on Solana, you only have a few options. On Bitcoin, you only have like Liquidium. And then on Ethereum, it has the most mature lending ecosystem. We have Toast down there. Feel free to come up if you'd like to as well. But as you kind of, get more access to all of these ecosystems, you can find the most competitive rates because at this time, it's so early that, in some ecosystems, the lending environment is a bit predatory and you're paying a lot in interest for these volatile assets, which kind of makes sense. But a big advantage that we have over the physical world is that it has direct settlement. So there's no, recovery rate. You don't have to go track down a foreclosed house and sell that on the illiquid market. It's direct instant settlement. So that should eventually be reflected in the actual rates that you're going to pay.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we lose that in, because we live in the space, right? But that ability to have a smart contract settle the loan is a big deal. Like it's hard to I still think the world hasn't properly grasped that idea. The idea of like even just whatever closing on a house or something like this, which is like lawyers and escrow companies and all this sort of thing to basically mitigate trust, right? To try and make the process as secure as possible. This is just one perfect use case of smart contract and blockchain technology. It's like, and we haven't even begun. I mean, we're literally in the most baby of baby steps right now, but it is exciting to see, this kind of cross-chain lending take place. I mean, it's got a smile on my face when I saw that happen today.
No, 100%. It's one of my favorite use cases for Emblem at the moment because where we're at with NFTs today is most people are just speculating, right? Most people are trading, just being market participants.
100%.
But that's clearly where we're not going. And so even though it is the use case today, the lending environments, that's the endpoint for a lot of these traders, what they're going to do with their assets. And so it's really the use case that appeals to them the most. And it's really kind of one of the touch points that'll give the end user that aha moment, like, wow, I just took a native Bitcoin asset. I didn't take a placeholder of the Bitcoin asset or, a wrapped version of the Bitcoin asset. I took the encrypted Bitcoin asset that's verifiable a cross chain to Ethereum into a new lender that wasn't possible before using Emblem Vault.
Yeah.
And so it's big for obviously Arcade and all of our partners over there. It's big for the Bitcoin ecosystem, any kind of end user looking for increased liquidity and cheaper fees. And it's obviously huge for Emblem to kind of showcase what you can do with these, cross-chain interactions. And some of the next few things that we have coming up on the horizon are just going to continue to hammer that home. So we're in a great spot.
Yeah, it's I mean, and it's still really clunky, right? I mean, to be perfectly clear, and but that's most of blockchain is still really clunky, right? Try to sell a BRC20, right? And you bump up against clunkiness, right? And so, all this stuff I know will get solved and will be, just easier and easier, as time goes on and we kind of figure out these systems. Even what we're doing at Emblem and our migration, which has taken exponentially longer than we thought it was going to take. That length of time to actually do it is actually us building out, the ecosystem and making it so that next time, we want to add a contract or add, to a different chain, it just becomes exponentially easier and faster and better. So this is all like, dude, it's the meme building, bro, right? It's like you have to build this stuff. And that takes an incredible amount of time and energy and money. And obviously Arcade's done an incredible job, but even them, they're still in the baby steps, right? It's like, how do we make sure we get rare Pepes on there? How do we get, the ordinals collections on there? Each one of those guys just right now. So, each one of these is basically manually done, right? So you want to add the node monks. It's like, bro, you got to get all the metadata. We have to, it all has to be done securely because obviously we don't want people scamming people. And it's all just really, really time consuming from a development standpoint. But each one of these things now that is done manually and slow will be automated in the future. And you could just see the day. I mean, it's pretty clear what's going to happen. We're just everything at all times will be available everywhere. And that is like this future that's super excited, man. And this is like one of these use cases. And I've told people before, like I have some huge NFT collector friends, like deca millions of dollars of collections, who, if you had told them this was possible in 2021, they would have even gone harder into NFTs at that time because they wanted to be able to access this liquidity. I mean, take a loan on an NFT, not pay taxes on the loan, access the liquidity. There's so many reasons that this is like a great thing for, the entire ecosystem. It's anyway, that's my bullish rant. We got Robot Loves Coffee up, man. What's up, dude? It's good to see you. Great to meet you up in NYC. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Yeah, no, it was awesome to finally meet. Yeah, it's thanks for having me up.
Yeah, I want to get into a bunch of different stuff today. And if anybody wants to come up, I know I was talking with Village Architect earlier today in DMs about setting up and running a node, anticipation of what's going to happen with runes. So I'd like to touch on that a little bit too. And if anybody has any inside info or can make directions for, I know we were both looking for, he reached out to me, but I'm like reaching back out. Anybody to kind of point us in the right direction. I got my node. It's basically fully synced now. But then I got to get Ordi and walk through that whole process. I wonder if anybody else is kind of doing that process. Chris, are you into that, or are you skipping the whole trying to get in early on runes meta?
I mean, I'm definitely not going to be etching them myself. Going to be trying to get as much exposure, continue to pile on pre-runes exposure. Market's looking pretty good there. We've been pretty early over there.
Yep. And
just following it as much as I can, getting exposure as they come to the market. But I'm not one that's going to be on the back end etching. No way. That's definitely out of my wheelhouse.
Why are you just thinking? You just thinking the level of effort required is going to be too much, and you'll probably screw it up and lose a bunch of Bitcoin trying to do these things.
That would pretty much be it. Yeah. And I mean, everyone's shooting into the dark, right? Like, no, they're on testnet. Everyone's playing around, but when everything goes live, the network is going to be in complete chaos.
Yep.
You're going to have so many just inexperienced quote unquote miners and validators trying to push things through, and it's going to be a mess. So we're going to follow it on the secondary market, myself personally, but I mean, this is massive. You see it in the start to being reflected in the BRC20 market right now. I mean, some of these things are just going completely bonkers, and it's kind of good to see that they're getting exposure. It's honestly the exact same thing that happened with ordinals last year. They had this massive run up in the beginning, and then if you remember, there was a few months where people thought ordinals were actually dead and that they weren't actually going to be a huge meta. And the same thing happened with BRC just recently, where, you know, they started out pretty big, they ripped pretty high, and then they literally just nuked everything. It was like a wasteland. And so now people are going through the earliest launches, just kind of cruising through Unisat, cruising through Ordinal's wallet, and just looking for, you know, solid tickers and picking up kind of all of the best that was launched last year. And there's a huge revitalization going there. So it's going to be interesting to see the dichotomy between what's going to be runes and how much staying power BRC20 has. But it seems like it's going pretty strong at the moment.
I mean, when you're saying like you're going to do runes just on the secondary, are you just what's your strategy? Is it just, okay, I'm going to just watch this, you know, the shit show that's going to be 420, and then see where it kind of settles over the next couple of days as far as which one kind of gains foothold, and then make an entry point then? Is that your strategy, or just like open up, see how it goes, and then decide later? Like what's the rough strategy right now for you?
Yeah, it seems like, I mean, tickers are obviously one of the biggest things in the ecosystem, both of them, for BRC and for runes. So just going to be looking out for some hot tickers, seeing what kind of action they're getting on the first couple hours or days.
Yep.
And I mean,
so you mean just like how quickly they're fully like minted out or whatever? I mean, etched out. Is it called etched out? I don't even know what the terminology is yet.
Yeah, I think we're still working on the lingo, but
yep,
for sure, definitely going to be following, you know, the time. But I'm pretty sure everything is basically going to be on fire coming out. I mean, there's so much attention. This has got to be, just because of it's on the back of the success of ordinals. I feel like this is like one of the biggest crypto releases basically of all time. What do you think?
Yeah, it does have that vibe. Which, and you know, I don't know how to play that. I mean, honestly, I tweeted, I think, with T.O. this morning, you know, because he's pushing for his community, where they're providing this kind of support in the Discord to, you know, get everybody up with a node and get everybody squared away to do, you know, to be able to take advantage of this, which I applaud that. That's actually a really awesome, you know, value to his community for sure. But I said, you know, I think, you know, he said, you know, don't be left behind kind of thing. And I said, well, don't you feel like it's a crowded trade? Like from my old Wall Street days, it's like when everybody knows about the trade, usually there's not enough vig there to make money on it. I don't know if you're getting that same vibe or what on that.
I think that's true, but this is like a 0 to 1 kind of moment.
Yeah.
A bit different because there is BRC, but the fact that it was the creator of the biggest protocol on Bitcoin, the most successful protocol on Bitcoin, basically since inception, since like Bitcoin itself. I mean, you have no pre-sales, you have no pre-mines on these things. Every fund is going to be needing, every fund, exchange, user. I mean, there's just so much capital that's kind of been prepping for this. And we have a hard launch date if it does go on 420.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be a big deal. I think that I agree with your thesis in general, most of the time, that it could be crowded. But the fact that everyone's going from zero exposure, nobody has, you know, a leg up on advantage of any other kind of counterparty.
Yep.
So we're all starting from the same footing. And so I feel like that just has to be a jump off moment for sure.
Yeah, it's actually like gets back to this like community thesis, which is if you have basically communities or groups of people are going to drive which ones have the value here, like right from the jump, right? It's just you're going to get I don't know. Is that what you're kind of looking for? It's like which one vibes first. It's just like it's a complete vibe play. Is that what
I mean, it seems to be, if we're just going off of what you know, pre-runes are doing basically at this time. Yep. You know, Wizard really took off community driven, Pups community driven, node, another community-driven project.
Yep.
So the memes are getting a little bit of traction, but the true biggest plays over the past week have been all community-driven. So kind of looking for that to continue.
Yeah, Robot Likes Coffee. I know you said you hadn't been following runes that closely. But what's your whole take on like where it sits with runes versus like BRC20s? Are you feeling anything about like BRC20s could have a comeback here if rune shits the bed? It feels like people aren't taking into account the that there is like risk with runes. It's not like this is guaranteed to go 100% smooth, but what's your feeling on it?
Yeah, so kind of back to I do get the sense that this is going to be like a 0 to 1. I do think it is going to be crowded. I think that that there is an opportunity, but things are going to get netted out really fast. So I don't think it's going to be like an easy play because everyone does know about it. I would say that getting a node up and running ahead of time, not that there's any reason to know 100% that that's going to be a benefit, would be wise to do, just because you'll never be able to do it if there was a benefit. And it's not ridiculously hard to do. I mean, people were spinning up board nodes before. So I would say that there is kind of in this anticipation of not knowing what there's going to be, if you were kicking yourself later because there was some benefit or there was some opportunity, that to me is going to be a less crowded space, potentially, than people that are just going straight on secondary. So that's kind of I think in this case, I think you want to try and have as much ready. I do think it's going to be a bit of a shit show.
Yeah,
for sure. I would say that from a tech point of view, the Ordinals client that they've been building out has been pretty solid. They're being really transparent with how they're pushing the code. So they do have a bit of a track record. So, it hasn't rugged fully yet. It seems to be pretty decent. Having a hard launch date always is problematic. I mean, I came back from Web 2 days and you'd have a launch date and you had to hit it. So hopefully they're have it baked in, and then they're trying to do some testing. But yeah, no, I think there's an opportunity that the BRC20s. I never really got into them a ton before, but I do think runes has a potential to take off and just move. Just go straight vertical. It's going to be interesting.
I mean, the one thing is, it's like how many. I mean, we're gonna get. I mean, is it going to be? It's certainly going to be hundreds, but it might be thousands in just a couple of days, maybe. I
think it'll be really crowded, and I do think that the other point is that there's going to be all the typical stuff, right? There's going to be a bunch of FUD. There's going to be a bunch of people trying to push narratives. It's going to be so. I think longer term, I think after the dust settles, I think runes, if it can be what it's hoping to be, could be kind of cool for what Bitcoin has. But by and large, it was kind of my understanding is it's kind of like, well, let's just, if people want to do these coins on BTC, let's build one for it. So so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yep. And I'm wondering, Chris did, and so this just shows how like overwhelmed I am trying to track all this stuff. But do we have an update? Are there going to be 10 hard-coded runes at the start? Do either of you guys know if that's the actual number at the start? Has that been decided?
I believe that is his game plan. 10 hard-coded.
Yep.
And basically a fight from there. And kind of just to go off of Jamie about how some people just really haven't gotten into the BRC20 meta. I'm pretty sure these are going to just cross market each other pretty hard.
Yep.
I was into BRC20s, like I said, kind of checking it out from afar and just kind of revitalized the comeback. But I mean, you're looking at some of these, most of the assets. 500 holders is a pretty decent amount for some of these early launches, and like 20,000 wallets is like a massive holder count for some of these BRC20s. And when you're talking Ethereum ERC20s have, 15, 20 million users more. I mean, like no one would basically, this is the ground level for not only the Runes protocol, but the BRC20 protocol as well. I mean, so definitely I think they're going to feed off of each other. And I'm pretty sure they're probably just going to exist. There's some solid plays if you just kind of think about it in the sense that some of these launches that were done by BRC20 are imbued in time. You have X is the first launch of a liquid token on Bitcoin, and that would still be on BRC20 regardless of what Runes would do. Sure, there will be another version of whatever it would be on Runes, but just going from a first is first mentality, imbued in time are a lot of these tickers and communities that were really, one of the biggest innovations in Bitcoin's history. So I think there's a lot of interesting plays on both protocols coming up. And I think they're just going to feed off each other. It's definitely going to be Bitcoin season.
I'm wondering too, with like the whole meta with Runestone, which obviously has been an incredible success. Well played by Leo. And just wondering if, and we've already seen it with a couple different projects, but if Runes were to kind of, let's say Runes was to really take over, where BRC20 just kind of becomes this like relic, not relevant thing. Do you think it's a play where some of these BRC20 communities decide to then do, rune drops to their existing holder base to kind of revitalize that community? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, that's pretty much the meta now, is everyone's at least teasing that they're in talks with Runes. And obviously they're not going to get in for the first couple days or weeks or whatever it would be. But that's definitely the mindset. And I mean, it's a fail-proof backup plan, right? Instead of just doing nothing, you can at least say you might potentially be doing something.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So yeah, no, I totally think that's kind of where we're going. But I mean, even with the ordinals, the biggest thing to happen on Bitcoin, in my opinion, since basically inception, there's almost no actual user, like holders in the scheme of, comparably to Ethereum or even Solana, when you're talking about like millions of buyers. Even on ordinals, we have like 5 collections that people might potentially buy. So as the supply of collections, quality of the collections increases, more wealth effect goes into the already really wealthy Bitcoin ecosystem, and just money is going to spread throughout, these BRC20s and then these Runes collections.
Interesting. So, Village Architect, you came up. Thanks. I appreciate that, man. How's the node setup going, bro?
Man, it's going pretty good. We're in the trenches, and it's.
Are you running? Wait, first, are you running like a Raspberry Pi or something like that, or you're doing it right off your computer?
No, I have a pretty decent gaming rig set up here.
Yeah.
For the most part, so I had just kind of like by the skin of my own teeth had enough space to download the entire blockchain.
Oh, cool.
Which was like something that a lot of people were complaining about. So Best Buy was definitely the way to go. I'm in the States here, and Best Buy is like the place to go in order to get the hardware, in order to have the node set up, run smoothly.
Yep.
But my plan for the Runes launch here is, I am exposed to like, Runestone and Zbit and all that. So I do have exposure from the pre-Runes. So this is kind of like a degen play for me, having this node set up and installing the Ord client and all that. So, as far as like what I'm going to be allocating my funds towards, it's mostly pre-Runes right now, but, I'm looking for that, asymmetric bet, right? So, small amount of funds, but if you can get in at mint, oh my gosh.
Is your plan like scattershot? Just hit it wherever you see it kind of thing? Or what's your plan?
Spray and pray.
Spray and pray. I love that plan.
Yeah, that's pretty much the idea. And I finally got the node running, but I'm at the point where I'm going to the next steps and allocating my time to just understanding how the Runes system works, as far as like how to etch, and learning the language of Casey's creation here. So that's pretty much all I got. I'm just kind of letting everybody know where I'm at and my thought process for, kind of allocating a portion of my funds to just, the lottery, right? The mint or etched lottery on launch day. So
totally. So you're using I'm assuming an external hard drive, basically. Is that what you?
No,
or you got it all on your computer?
Yeah, it's all on my computer.
Yeah.
I simply did not have the time to go out. I just got a new puppy, so I'm
bro, don't let
right
that
now.
puppy get in the way of generational wealth, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be an expensive puppy.
That's a $10 million puppy, bro. Don't.
Yeah. It was for my own mental sanity, right? So, but I would say that the puppy allowed me to work from home. So being flexible here allowed me to have time to sort of get in the trenches, and buy back some time that I wouldn't have had if I was going in the office.
Awesome. I may hit you up. I did download. I got the full node. It should be basically synced now. It's been running for about a day to get synced. I actually bit the bullet because famously I failed to get the full node running in anticipation of the launch of ordinals, because I tried to do it on my Mac. I cleaned out a bunch of space, thought I had enough space, couldn't get it running. This is over a week-long process. I went and got an external hard drive, and Casey's trying to hook it up with my external hard drive. In the end, I never got it running, right? And so this time I was like,
that's frustrating.
Bro, that's literally fumbling, literally generational wealth, right? Literally. So this time I don't think it's the same opportunity. It's obviously not, because people know about this, right? But I actually bought what I don't know what's it called, Umbrella or something like that. It's basically it's like a souped up Raspberry Pi. So anyway, that's syncing up now. I may hit you back up when I need to do the Ord client, if that's okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, man.
I'll be in it. So
awesome.
Hopefully, I might be 1 or 2 steps ahead, or you might get ahead of me. So we'll walk in step.
Awesome. Dogfather, what's up, man? By the way, I pinned Dogfather's tweet. I think that's the most recent one of the kind of Runes ecosystem. Dogfather's crushing it over there. What's up, man?
Hey, GM, it's never updated, man.
You gotta keep updating, bro. It's just, you've locked yourself in, man.
I could do that, every second day or so. People are pinging me, and it's awesome because it keeps me really, up to speed. So I know what people are building, because some are just writing me or tagging me. That's pretty cool.
Yep.
It's the best way to stay, up to date. And I completely chime in on, run your own node, make yourself familiar with the Ord client, with the protocol. Even if at the end you don't know what to do, what to mint, you're way ahead of most people, because even if you use a mint service like, the ones you see on my ecosystem map, like, Ordner Spot or, one of the newer players, even if you use them because you may not want to use your node or don't really get it, you're still, in terms of understanding, ahead of most people.
Yep.
Right. So that's, I was just, syncing up my node, let's say a few months ago, and, tried a few things, but even that already makes me, a bit firmer in what you do otherwise on an inscription service.
For sure.
Because on an inscription service, you just click pay and that's the address, and you don't see what's going on. If you use your own node, you see, this is now the first transaction you commit. Then the second transaction is the reveal. You always hear about that in the spaces, but you never really see it, and then you don't understand it. And that's with runes a bit different to BRC20. So because you have 6 blocks in between the commit and the reveal transaction in order to prevent sniping. And these little details can already help you to, be a bit better in adding or minting your runes, because just this understanding that you gain by running your node and playing around with it, this is extremely helpful. And you're just a better trader or minter, etcher, whatever you want to call you, if you run your nodes and read the documentations.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we used to, sorry, Jamie, one sec. I was just going to say, we used to joke at the start of Ordinals that it was just a psyop by Casey to get people to run full nodes, right? Which was kind of like, it's kind of lost that over time, but that was like definitely something at the beginning. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight, if people are looking at spinning up their own nodes, speed at the initial ones is the issue. So if you're getting external drives, make sure that they're SSD drives.
Yep.
Try and get the fastest that you can. SanDisk, Extreme Pros are good, and there's Samsung has a new T9 out. So if you are doing external, if you don't have a fast drive, it can be painful. And then on the Ordinals Discord, they do have some kickstarts that you can do to be ahead on the Ordinals database, which is getting quite large. So there are shortcuts that you can do to get up if you didn't want to be doing a bare metal sync. So just stuff to.
Okay,
to
so if I'm doing the Ord client, then walk me through it a little bit. So if I get the full node done, then I got to get the Ord client, correct? So, but you're saying they have like a light client or something I can use?
Not a light client. So the Bitcoin node's the easiest part. It's then basically you have that data, and when you do the Ord sync, it then goes through the entire Bitcoin node to basically, if you think of it a simple way, it's like it has a stack of money and it wants to go through and see which ones have art drawn on it, which one's an ordinal, which one isn't. That process can take a long time. It's getting faster and faster. That basically is just a database. It's a ReDB or Rust database file. So there's a contributor there that has a database already kind of caught up to like close to the latest block in the newest format. So you can download that, and then when you do the Ord client sync, you're only catching up the last 60,000 as opposed to going from the beginning. Yeah. The other way that I did this, if you didn't want to trust that, would be spinning up, and this is getting technical, but spinning up an Amazon instance of like a ridiculously large server, running it for 8 hours to do that full sync, then it'll create that database file, pulling that down locally, because you're going to end up at kind of gigabytes. So what happens is every time they do updates, they sometimes change the data model. And because they do that, you have to get a new database. So you'd have to do a resync. So for runes, you're going to definitely need a new database. So you'd be doing a full sync again. So just stuff to be aware of. So your BTC node always stays. You just keep that running. And then for the Ord, it's basically just the client and then just the database.
Wait, so why would you said with runes you're going to need to do a brand new resync? Why new? Why not just from the latest block kind of thing?
I believe because the data model is going to change.
Okay.
So basically, like, think about it. You have the ordinals on your Ord client is a database. And if you had an older client, it didn't know what runes was, so it has no way to even store any of that data.
Right.
So as they've done changes, there's been, for lack of a better word, breaking changes. So you've been able to, okay, cool, I'm on 0.6, that's fine. Oh, we want to do this. There's a new breaking change to do reinscription. So therefore, you'd have to go back and do a full reindex and then forward again. So I believe with runes, you're going to, depending on what version, I'm not sure when the breaking changes, but you'll need a new ReDB.
Oh, God help us, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of like it's worthwhile to understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't have to. The biggest part is to have enough storage space, because we're getting into multiple gigabytes, and just understanding the steps. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I know. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I'm hoping to try and in the Discord of Ordinals, they do have kind of the different setups for each. So you might find one like Mac OS X with the external hard drive, or Windows with the external hard drive. I'm doing mine on Linux Direct. But if you wanted to, there's still time to get that stuff up and running. So you just got to dig around a bit.
And how do you think is the etching process? Is that pretty complicated, or you think that's going to be relatively easy for people to understand?
I think it should be relatively. I think the majority of them is just if you're not used to using terminal, that's how the OR client works.
Yeah.
You're basically just entering commands. I don't think it's going to be overly complicated. And part of the problem, I think, is just that to your point, there's going to be a shit ton of people trying to do it.
Yep.
And there is that other thing that we chatted about of people trying to get that first SAT on the halving as well. So I think 420 is going to be an interesting day.
Yeah. I mean, what are the odds that it lands on 420? Perfectly chosen by Casey. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And I am interested to see how BRC20s do because obviously they're kind of direct competition, how that actually plays out over the, next couple of months. My gut says attention. Like if I was to lay bets, it'd be hard for me to bet on BRC20 only because of the massive attention around runes and the massive attention that, Casey's able to pull. So it's going to be interesting to see how BRC20 plays out. It could be totally wrong. I mean, and let's be clear, like runes could be a complete shit show. Shit could go wrong and break. And, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's certainly a possibility. It is tech and crypto and things go wrong all the fucking time. So
yeah, and narrative too, I think
totally
is so important, right? Like I find that's almost sometimes it's back in the day, like the VHS beta stuff. It's not the best tech, it's the best narrative.
100%.
People follow
100%. 100%. Like the narrative is critical. And that's why, obviously trying to grab the right names of runes is important. It's not the only thing though, right? I don't know if you guys are tracking it much, but like what's happening on Solana still with these, literally thousands of meme coins dropping every single day. The idea of how to get attention in that environment, which runes is going to be a very similar environment. And I know of people trying to build basically the pump.fun website for runes, which Lord help us. I mean, this is like, I can imagine there's no reason why this shouldn't work. They should be able to basically, the tech's slower and more clunky. But a similar thing should be able to take place on runes. And if you're tracking it at all on Solana, what's happening over there? I mean, it is just the rugs taking place. I mean, it's rug after rug after rug after rug. And people are they continue to play because the opportunity of catching that one that 100Xs is real. Like it absolutely is possible. And I would expect that to continue on runes, like just basically port that over.
The only difference there would be cost. BTC is going to considerably get expensive. And I think Solana is, I hope most people realize it is an absolute casino. Yeah. So it's going to the corner and playing dice. So everyone knows that, but it's cheap enough that you can keep doing it. I do think that ordinals in general, runes are not, as BTC continually increases, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because it's going to get expensive compared to other options for sure.
Yeah, that's one of my kind of on the cons checklist. Which I know people are like, oh, it could be the biggest, meme coin casino on earth. And I'm like, well, it could be, and it also might not be, right? Because part of the thing about Solana that's so great is, when your transactions go through, they happen in, a second. And when, a transaction fails, nothing happens. You don't lose, Solana trying to get that transaction to go through. And if it does go through, the transaction costs you, a penny, right? Which has a lot of advantages. But go ahead, Darkfather.
Yeah, I think runes will also be a big push for like L2s and, side chains and everything that's speeding up those transactions and lowering transaction costs. In particular, if the transaction costs stay high for a prolonged period of time. So this will be like a big push for these types of startups.
Yeah, I'm wondering though, kind of in the same way that, we see it taking place on Ethereum right now, right? Which is like, hey, come over to Base, right? But it's a pain in the ass. I've done it right now, but it's like I put off doing it for weeks. I was like, ugh, got to figure out, you know, the bridge, got to figure out, you know, and it worked pretty well. I mean, the wallet system, it's basically using your same MetaMask wallet. You're just switching, you know, chains or whatever. But even, you know, I'm in the trenches and I was like, ugh, don't really want to do it. You know what I'm saying?
It's if the liquidity's there, that's what's going to drive people to want to do it typically.
Exactly.
They'll
Exactly.
move to the market. I would say that I've seen the most Bitcoin dev since I've been in this space happening because of ordinals and because even just have marketplaces available and to be able to have an extension interact with it, like that stuff. So I that's why I find it an amazing space, and that's where I'm trying to focus on Bitcoin dev, because I do think that there is a significant amount of resources and money that people will put in. So I do think it'll be interesting. I agree with you, though. I don't think it's going to be the best meme coin place, but it will be the best place for valuable artifacts that you want to store, for sure. And
One question with that liquidity, because that's a great point. Like we see it on Ethereum. Okay, people are doing base or blast, depending on what they think they might be rewarded with, airdrops or whatever, or what happens to be the meme coin that they think they're going to make the most money on, right? Give me the thesis then on what's happening on Bitcoin, because literally I don't even know how many L2s there are now. There's 45 L2s, right? How with that split, right? I kind of see like maybe stacks at the top, right, as far as awareness and stuff. But then I see, you know, 43, 44 other competitors. How, when there's kind of this diffusion of attention, how am I going to know? How's the average player going to know which one to go to or where the liquidity is going to be on an L2 if these, you know, meme coins are moving to an L2? Like, give me the thesis on that, on like how that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't really.
Or you're like, it doesn't make sense to me either. McBride, you're crazy.
I don't think it's crazy. I just think that if it becomes valuable, then people are going to move to something that's cheaper. But I still think if it's just straight up gambling, meme coins, etc., then the Solana, they solve their infrastructure issues. That's where people are going to go gamble.
Yeah.
And I still think that people are going to be on Bitcoin. And obviously I'm here more for I think a crypto art renaissance stuff. I think that's where people are going to want to have things. We do touch on a little bit of XEP, where it came from, Counterparty, where I first started. Like, I think that there's going to be cases around that, but strictly as meme coins, it'll be interesting. If there's enough money to drive it, then people are going to build solutions to support it.
Go ahead, Dogfather.
Yeah, I mean, it's not too different to what was happening with BRC20s, right? I mean, you had like the big centralized exchanges supporting a couple of coins, and those kind of more blue chip BRC20s had, you know, all the volume and liquidity. I mean, we had hundreds of millions of, you know, volume in these bigger tokens. So I doubt that this will be very different in the case of Runes. In particular, given that the protocol is simpler, you don't need these transfer inscriptions, and, you know, it's just, I think, also lighter in terms of the you know, I'm always seeing inscriptions, but, you know, the transfers. So I think this will be no different. So I don't think that this will be a big issue.
All right, there you heard it. It's going to be taken care of. Dogfather guarantees that if you buy Runes, it's going to be an amazing trading experience. No, I'm kidding. We'll see how it plays out, man. It is like, certainly I give it a great chance. I mean, look, it's amazing, the infrastructure. You know, if you've been in the space long enough, you know, and I've commented on it a bunch of times, the amount of building that took place because of ordinals is really, it's unbelievable, like incredible. Even around trading BRC20s, you know, figuring that out, making it relatively painless, like all that building, it's incredible. But people build because they think there's going to be money to be made there. And I think it feels like Runes is in that position that it's going to happen. Like it's probably already happened, right? It's like people have built this in anticipation of 420.
That's what I think. Yeah, I think that's what biggest challenges is that a bunch of people are trying to get first mover advantage and are building to the code that's
Yep.
still in flux and isn't solid. So that's where I see some potential risk, is that everyone's going to be trying to launch whatever service or tool in the same way that when ordinals came out, and depending where the code is or how far ahead they were or not, that's where I think that there could be some. I don't think runes necessarily might be, but some other services that people are using might be where people are saying, "Oh, this doesn't work," but it's like, no, it actually works. The tool that you were trying to use might not.
Well, do you have any idea, like, well, give me a risk scenario in that sort of thing where, I mean, I guess we've seen it with like, maybe endogenals, right? Where it's like it launched and then basically two different teams launched like different versions and you had this mess up, where certain ones weren't accepted by the indexer of the other one. And, you know, they had to basically battle it out and one ended up losing. And so if you got these other ones, you know, you were basically out. Right, they're basically worthless, right? Do you foresee something like that happening? That seems unlikely, or you just see like trading might not be possible.
Yeah, I think it could be some of the trading, or if someone has an etching service, or if there's other things that are around. I don't know what people are building. I know some people are going to be trying to build for sure.
Yep.
To try and launch something on the day of launch too, similar to back when Inscription bots and other stuff were out at the beginning, and they're making good money just basically running a command line, but via a web interface. So I think there's going to be people trying to do that to catch, and it'll be interesting just to see. So I'm hoping there isn't like a hugely negative thing, but just some of the services you use might not be as great as they advertise.
Sure.
Potentially. So
yeah, you can imagine like the inscription services, just, I hate to be Ordinal's bots and, Brian over there, it's like dealing with 8,000 pissed off customers because the thing went down, or, you didn't pay enough, mining fees or whatever to get your stuff etched. I mean, I just can imagine how it could go. It's pretty easy to see how that could go sideways quick.
Yeah. And it's because everyone knows the volume. The hardest thing people underestimate. It's like, well, why did it crash? Like, I've been a dev for a while. Point loads on web stuff. It's very hard to defend against.
Yep.
I mean, there's certain things that you definitely can do, but it's not trivial. Typically, most teams, you do enough testing to be able to support it and then deal with it. But I've seen mostly in Web3 that majority of times they don't do enough load testing, and things do just crumble once enough attention gets focused on it. But some of this stuff is it's not there's a bunch of time you have to spend to try and to deal with it. So sometimes it's not even just money, it's just if you haven't done the infrastructure properly.
Totally. Dogfather, did you
say? Bro, Jamie, this is bullish. We will all crash our services. It will all be down for a bunch of blocks. There will be some reorgs. There will be like big chaos. This is like bullish. This is how we roll.
That is, you're right, bro. It literally, almost every like successful launch I've seen almost always breaks mid-launch. I mean, that is so true, dude. It's, and especially when you get into these kind of this, I mean, make no mistake, this is like a highly competitive environment where all sorts of crazy stuff can happen. Everything from like DDoS attacks to God knows what. This is like literally millions of dollars on the line. And I've seen, just being in the Bells community for a while, how like cutthroat the miners are. And like, bro, they are savages, like literal kill your mother savages. So I put nothing past any of them to do anything, to reorg blocks or God knows what, to make this a reality and to try and fill their bags and steal from your bags. So
and they have an advantage for sure.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Like faster, and they have funding and incentive. So
1,000,000%. And it's going to be interesting. I'm sure. I'm quite sure some of the miners are going to be trying to do some interesting stuff during those key blocks. And Like I think I've talked with, some people offline, and it's like, well, what about the first art inscriptions and all these kind of things, which could be interesting. And I'm sure, miners have lined up to try and win that block and try and, inscribe some interesting stuff, do some interesting runes and whatever, who knows. But
even without runes,
yeah,
just the halving is, like, from an ordinal point of view, is massive.
Yep.
So when you put both, it's like, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, they've debated how much that the first set of the block will be worth. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it's going to be crazy. I'm super excited for it, just to watch it go down. It's going to be like a massive, incredible soap opera. I just wanted to touch real quick because we had, if anybody wants to come up, by the way, just raise your hand. Just wanted to give a quick Bells update, Bells coin. We did have one of our kind of core devs travel. He traveled to, I'm not going to name the place, but he traveled to the other side of the world to meet with, to attend a mining conference and meet with the team from Bitmain to discuss the future of Bells coin and mining of Bells coin, discuss the activation of doing merge mining, and kind of plan that all out, coordinate with, Bitmain, who's obviously one of the main players in the entire mining space. So just to let you know, that went down very successful, continuing the discussions over the coming weeks. I don't have anything specific as far as timing goes out on when merge mining or when Bells Core 3, it is in testing right now. I will say that. But I don't have specific dates on when that's actually going to happen or when merge mining is going to take place. Trust me, there are a lot of balls in the air. It's not like you can just flip a switch. There are a lot of kind of things that need to be kind of hammered out in anticipation of merge mining happening. It almost certainly is going to happen. It's just a question of when. But if anybody had any questions on that, certainly happy to answer them. It's exciting stuff over at Bells. We did have some price spike where we had obviously some whales moving in, buying a bunch of Bells. Not saying you buy Bells. I'm not saying go and do it, but people are anticipating, with Bells coins halvings coming up, where kind of a market cap might sit for this. We shall see. The shit's broken as fuck. I mean, I'll just be completely honest. Like, the explorers don't work, the wallets barely work, the chain's barely chugging along. But I mean, look, we're at, like, I want to say 69 million inscriptions as people are trying to inscribe out Nook. So it's chugging along barely. But for some of us in the community, I think it's exciting. I mean, I think we're pretty excited about, bringing back this proof of work blockchain and, it living on indefinitely. And that's pretty cool, we think. What the value lies of it, bro, I have zero clue. I'm really bad at this sort of stuff. But it's certainly exciting times, and we're super psyched to be able to meet with, and have that Bitmain, group reach out to us and want to be actively involved. It gave us a lot of confidence that, Bells is going to outlive us, which is pretty awesome. And hopefully once Bells, the core 3.0 comes out, the full kind of capacity of Bells will be unlocked where, maybe it starts playing in the meme coin space or in the inscription space. Who knows what it could be. Every day. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, Adam. Good. Yeah, I haven't been rugged recently, so life is good.
Bro, you're not in the game enough if you haven't been rugged, bro. I got rugged like 3 times yesterday on meme coins, bro.
I guess it's part of the life, right? You got to sign up for it.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, like, today's a really exciting day. Like, the artist that was behind Leonidas's runestone dropped the blocks. It's like 1,000 collection of different blocks, and those minted out in 5 minutes. I think they were like 0.01. Yeah, they're like 0.015 Bitcoin each on the whitelist, and they're gone. Like, they're all gone. So that was a big one. The ones I'm looking forward to, though, I artist called Lors, Lors, who was part of the Jack Butcher OPEPN. He's minting, what are they called? Stepepes.
Okay.
So like, yeah, so that's pretty cool. That's at like noon, I think, maybe noon central. And then later, the big one is Skrilla Ventura. He's an old school Pepe guy.
Sure.
His open edition with Ghostface Killer is going live at 1.
Oh, no way. Is that today?
Yeah, that's today. Yeah, I haven't seen any links to the platform. So speaking of rugs, I'll probably click on the wrong link.
Yeah.
But that's going to go. But anyway, those are the things I'm excited about. But I had this observation from this week, and nobody's talking about it. So I don't know whether this is like, it's not alpha, but it feels like a shift. So there was a project that was airdropped during NFT NYC called Blobs.
I did hear about that. Yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So they're pretty cool. I mean, I actually sold mine. I sold into the pump. But the interesting thing about it, I mean, it's an interesting project. It's coded so you can interact with these things. But the guy behind it, this guy called NeuroRealm, and he is partnered up with a guy that codes, and I can't remember his handle, but I think they're both anonymous. But the fascinating thing is I think he's American, but he went to university in Beijing. So the really interesting piece is that collection was pumping at about 9 p.m. at night US time, which is when mainland China's waking up, right? It's 9 a.m. on their side. And it struck me that I was listening to another call for a game, and the game developer kind of opened the stats and said how many people were playing it, active users. And he said it's all US, like everybody playing the game. It's a Web3 game, and it's like 98% US participants. So I just wondered, folks on the stage or your perspective, Adam, when we think about this, the people that are playing the game right now, the hot potato, passing things around, trading in between maybe 10,000 individuals.
Yeah.
Do you think there are other markets that are about to wake up? I mean, they just seem like a sleeping giant that all this guy had to do was say that he went to university, did a post-grad in Beijing, and they were like, wow, we're on it, and they were aping into it at 9 p.m. onwards. And then US was waking up and selling into the pump. What have you seen that anywhere else, or do you think that's going to explode? Like Hong Kong gets their ETF this week, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm not exactly sure. Because we talk, it's almost a meme at this point, like when retail, right? And I joke that maybe I am the retail, right? That's getting dumped on. So I don't know exactly. My gut tells me that we're at least in the middle of a bull run, because I have got the DMs from people who are, childhood friends. And it's like, what did I get the other day? Oh, he was telling me about, he's got a friend who works at Coinbase, and somebody made a meme coin on Solana about his friend who works at Base or what, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is like, we're in that stage. Right. And I don't know, where in that, it's impossible to tell where we are in that cycle. But I feel like retail is here to some degree. To your point on like, if we get any sort of crossover, I haven't seen it. Like I haven't seen, in 21, we definitely had this thing where it was like NFTs hit enough of a mainstream attention where we had people pulling people in just to trade NFTs. And, is this the meme coin cycle, which people have talked about? Well, this is a meme coin super cycle where kids are coming, when I say kids, 20-year-old people are coming in to trade meme coins. Certainly possible. I think they're already here to a large degree. But is there going to be another thing this cycle that breaks through that's actually new? And is it gaming or music or what? I don't know. Doesn't feel like anything's, hit yet. I'm keeping an eye out for it. I hope there's something else besides meme coins that kind of drives this cycle forward with something new and maybe innovative. God help us, please, something innovative, that like brings normies in. to something interesting or fun or new, which connects blockchain to, traditional Web 2 or whatever. I'd love for that to happen. I pray it happens.
Yeah, I think it's going to start to happen through things like Base, right? Base.
Yeah.
Polygon seemed to be kind of a flop, right? You still had to be pretty tech savvy, but Base seems to open it up. That demo they did of the wallet, that is just a really easy to use wallet. You don't have to even remember a seed phrase, from what I remember from the demo. Like, that's going to crack the thing open, I think. And then, but it's going to be like $5 to $25 JPEGs.
Totally, dude. I mean, it's got to be like, honestly, like pennies. Like that's always been my kind of thesis, is that 21 could, the bull run in 21 could take place because there were enough, like, rich by world standards people who could buy, $1,500 JPEGs, right? But that is not the world, right? Like, we need stuff that's, pennies or dollars, right? To onboard, 1 billion users,
Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting theory. I like your idea of Base, and certainly the wallet infrastructure is something, I've been talking about since like 2016. Like, we can't have wallets that require you to, hammer your seed phrase into a steel plate. Like, that just can't exist, right? And so have you tried that Coinbase wallet yet?
I haven't tried that. I'd stuck with what I knew, and I used an existing wallet and connected to Base mainnet, and bridged over that way. Haven't tried the Coinbase one, but I should, right? If I'm gonna, I don't know whether I should be the one trying to onboard people, or whether it's just going to happen organically. But the other piece of that, though, is, if you're buying let's say it's a $1 JPEG, and it goes up to $25, you've 25x'd.
Yeah.
Is that even a flex, though? That's how things go viral, is you flex on your gains. No one cares if you turned a Happy Meal into a steak dinner.
Well, that's the thing I think we're missing to a degree, is because we're rich people, is that, like, it is if you're 12, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that we need, in some ways, the next thing that's going to hit and onboard like 100 million people would be something like, obviously this isn't it, but the Fortnite skin that the kid gets a pack of 5 for $5, right? And then one he sells for $100, right? Like, that is the win that needs to happen. Or what you know what I'm saying? Something like that.
Yeah, some of the narrative, you have to look at what people are collecting now, not on a blockchain, and what are the values, and what are people like excited about, and what communities are around that, and would there be interest in something that at that lower level, that lower price point, with the X's. I mean, a 25x, if you had 100,000 of them, wouldn't be terrible. So I think there's a challenge to think that people are going to want. If you're just at JPEGs and or whatever, I think those people would end up just on Solana or some meme coins. But I do think there could be the space, if you were to look on eBay and other stuff, of what physicals are people collecting, and as people become more digitally native, what would be the equivalent of that? And then I think there would be a market for that.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're still thinking it. We have this, like, degen mindset, right? Which was trained through the NFT hype boom and stuff. And so in a lot of ways, I think it needs to be disrupted. And, our mindset actually needs to be disrupted, to find these kind of use cases that are out of our purview right now. I'm still talking about, bringing gaming skins in, and we're still talking about, well, who even cares if you don't get 100x, so that whole mindset, which I'm not saying is bad, it's just our current mindset maybe needs to shift, and the shifts usually happen, I mean, we've seen it through the history of blockchains. It's happened through basically creative people doing creative things. And I think even though it might be a little silly, but you know, Casey's at a core, he's a creative developer. And I think, you know, doing something with runes is creative and, you know, doing something different. You know, I know a lot of people shit on it. It's just shit coins. It's just meme coins. It's nothing, but I disagree. I think, you know, I'd like to just label it playing around on blockchains or fumbling around or trying new stuff is actually the way we move forward. Most of it fails. 99% of it's worthless. But at the end of the day, it gives us the next building blocks, the next step, the next thing a creative person can do to kind of vibe with or try something new. I don't know if that's your feeling, Jamie, or you're like, Adam, you're an idiot. What are you talking about?
No, I do think memes are a virus for sure, and memes people get behind and they have fun. I think there's a ton of stuff that's just 100% gambling, but I do think there's other ones that genuinely are a meme, and some of those they're going to live on, right? I do think a ton is going to go down, but typically it's things that have pushed technology forward are when people just want to have fun, like gaming. Push stuff forward as far as like, I mean, I'm old guy, like back in the day, you used to bring your computer over and do LAN gaming. Like people are like, yeah, I don't care how secure it is. I just want to play with a bunch of other people around the world. So people goofing around and playing for sure is what's going to push stuff forward.
Totally. Yep. I'm with you there. I appreciate everybody for coming today. We host this show, Emblem hosts this show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. It's game on next week. I mean, I'm going to get my node up and running this weekend, get my ORD client. I appreciate all the tips. You guys helping me out. I'm going to jump in the ORD Discord and hopefully figure out the ORD client a little bit later today, see how that goes. I might run some Twitter threads if that helps anybody get on board and get prepared for runes. It should be a fun time. Super psyched for that. Chris, do you have any words before we head out?
No, I think you know, it's showtime basically. We had Emblem Town Hall just yesterday. We have a recap of that coming later today. Read through it. There's some exciting developments that's coming from our side. NFT NYC was great. We met so many people, so many different collaboration opportunities with us through Emblem and just within so many different ecosystems. And then we're back to 3 shows next week. So it's been a bit turbulent, just with all the travel and the team kind of bouncing around, but we're back to a full schedule next week. So a lot of exciting things really wrapping up. I mean, you know, Adam, you know more than anyone how close we are to, you know, our next product release and everything like that.
For sure.
And so with runes on the horizon and then all of the things that we have going on in the Emblem ecosystem, it's just a really incredible time to be in crypto.
Exciting times, bull runs, guys. I mean, just to give a little word of advice, like you will feel like you miss stuff every day. That means we're in a bull run. And thankfully they're here, because going through bears, like you forget what it's like. But this is what it's like. And if you're not feeling FOMO and feel like you're missing out, you're not deep enough. You got to go deeper, because there will be stuff like, dude, stuff literally every other day. Like, God dang it, I missed that. God dang it, I missed that. But just try to, you know, be aware. And I always think, you know, and this is part of the reason I'm doing the, you know, the full node and stuff. Things that are painful take time. It's like, ouch, this really is a pain in the butt to do. Usually that's where your best opportunities are. So just keep that in mind, guys. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you next Tuesday, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, a.m. Eastern. And have a great weekend, everybody.
Have a great weekend. See you next week.
See you guys. Thanks for having me on.